person to hold. Earlier on, I think Ineka out there, but Alex was saying that, was it somebody was saying earlier on that we have to think like criminals and to be able to catch criminals. I don't know how many percentage or degree of criminality is in each one of us anyway, but it's all for you to be mindful, to be proactive is important. We don't want to have any sour experiences. It has been amazing for us, and I'm glad that EMG has offered to be a part of this particular wonderful African Global Conference. And of course, Zambia, all the way from SEC Zambia, mentioned the fact that RegTech Africa is now part of its ecosystem. I understand and believe that that also expands to all other African countries. And you and I know that today is actually the 60th anniversary of the African Union. This is the African Day. We think African are future. I actually thought it was yesterday. You know, but it's a good thing that Ineka actually just brought that to my thought as well. And this is the beautiful thing about Africa. We have investors and interest all around the world today. And this next panel section on mobile money and agency banking is going to help us to drive this whole concept that we've been looking at, especially with regards to policy and its impact, frameworks that we designed to ensure that the customer and the people must be within the fulcrum of whatever it is we are dealing with. And so I would like to quickly invite Winnie and Wambugu, mobile money regulatory specialist at GSMA. She's in the house here. Please put your hands together for her. I'm so excited when I see my people here in person. And of course, I know Hugo. Hugo is joining us, obviously, virtually. Hugo Pacheco, Chief Product and Growth Officer of Papersoft. You're welcome. Can you say a quick hi to us so that we are sure we hear you? Hugo? No,
hello.
Okay, great. We can hear you. All right, well, I'm going to take a seat. You're going to be moderating this section, working with me to make sure we wrap up this track within a very good time. I'm excited to also announce that I met her, I think, sometime at the CB conference in Abeokuta, where I had the privilege of anchoring. And then she's here in person. And that's the CEO of Nine Payment Service Bank, Ambraka Marakaj. Please, can you put your hands together for her? It was quite a wonderful experience at that time. And then we see that she's experiencing Nigeria. We are glad to say thank you for your support. 9PSB is actually giving us every support they can, especially to make this event a huge success. And definitely, I also have Juliet Almaina, the senior manager, regulatory and public policy of M-Pesa Africa. I believe she's supposed to be joining us online. Great, she's coming up, and then we're going to just confirm that. And finally, we have Frederick Asumanu. Frederick Asumanu is from Ghana. He's overseeing policy and regulations at the Financial Inclusion Forum African Head of Market Regulations at NCA. He should join us virtually as the case might be. And so, Winnie, this is going to be over to you. As you know how we're going through, you have your panelists have some moment, and then we'll get into the question, and then we can wrap up. So please walk with me. As soon as you see me stand there, you know that I'm going to be putting you on cue. And then we'll look for Frederick has not joined us yet, but Juliet is coming up. As soon as they do, we can work as well with Hugo and then have a good time. Marika, just good to see you again. Over to you, Winnie.
Good afternoon. Happy to see you all. We will start with a presentation by Hugo. But before that, I'd want to introduce the panel that is here before you. And Hugo, we'd want to start with you, please.
Hello. So my name is Hugo Pacheco. I'm an economist. I've been working in technology since I started my professional life. So I've been coding in mainframes since the beginning, and now I'm with Papersoft, and we developed last mile banking tools to bank last mile customers that are typically hard to reach, and that's what we are going to present today.
Thank you, Hugo. Also with me right here is Branka Mrakajak. As you've heard, she's the CEO of 9PSB Mobile Nigeria. She has won several awards, including the Best New Payment Service Bank in Nigeria by Global Brands Magazine. Also the Most Reliable Payment Service Bank by African Brands Congress, and is the outstanding CEO of a payment service bank in Nigeria since 2022 by the World Business Outlook Awards, amongst others. Please say a word.
for the introduction. So I wanted to say, like, there is a lot of confusion when you say, like, we are using word mobile money, and you said Nine Payments Service Bank Mobile. We are not mobile. We are a service bank that is providing digital services, payment services across Nigeria to every phone user, no matter if it's EMTN, Airtel, or Nine Mobile or Glow. So it's a bank that actually has one of telco owners, to put it like that. Just for clarification. Thank you, Winnie.
Thank you so much, Branka. And that just sets the tone of how we're going to start this session and what you're going to inform the people this time. On the screen, I don't know if she's been able to join. Juliet?
Can you hear me?
So Juliet Ongoing Minor will also be joining us. She's the Senior Manager, Regulatory Public Policy at M-Pesa Africa. Juliet is passionate about ICT for development and the role that policy and regulatory frameworks play in building a digital economy and boosting socio-economic development.
Can you hear me?
You wanted to say a word, Juliet?
Am I audible at all?
Okay, just in the interest of time, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Winnie Wambogo. I work with the GSMA as the Mobile Money Regulatory Specialist. In my role, I do engage, MNOs who provide mobile money, and also the regulators, specifically including the Central Bank of Nigeria, in coming up with regulatory regulations and policies that actually support deepening financial inclusion. Okay, I think we'll just move to the presentation, Hugo, as we wait for Juliet to join us.
Hi, can you hear me, Winnie? Hello? Hello?
Hugo? Okay.
Can you see my screen now?
Almost.
Let me know when you're ready.
Hello, Hugo, we can't see your screen. No, we can't.
Okay, so let me try again.
Just checking if I'm audible. Hello?
Let me know if you can see it now.
Not yet, but it's coming up. I guess perhaps it has to do with we oftentimes say network, but not too sure now. What's interesting is it seems that the pulse image on the screen here is also the same with what we're seeing with Juliet. So I'm not too sure what exactly it is the problem perhaps is. Does it have to do with the service providers from the end? Okay. If they were using MTN there or Main1, I'm very sure all of this will go smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
Hugo, your screen is yet to come up. Alternatively, is it possible for you to quickly send it to us via WhatsApp? And if we could share it here, that perhaps might be the other option.
I can.
Okay, so a blessing, kindly get Hugo's number if you have, and then let him send it to you on WhatsApp, and then we can upload it here so that we can direct see the presentation from this one. But Winnie, yourself and the madam can actually fill in the moment with conversation until we're able to have that presentation slide come up. And these are some of the challenges that we have. But the beautiful thing is that is this a room full of innovators, and I'm very sure the solution to some of these hitches will obviously be what we share, so that by next edition, we'll be having so much more seamless as the case might be. So Winnie, over to you. As soon as we're ready, I'll get back to you.
Okay, that's actually great. So I will use the opportunity to share a little about our organization. So Nine Payment Service Bank is the very first payment service bank that was licensed back in November 2020. I am very assured that many of you knows that financial inclusion strategy by Central Bank of Nigeria was launched, I believe, in 2012. So here we are, some 11 years later, and we are still struggling when it comes to closing financial exclusion gap. And this conference and many other conferences are tackling this issue, talking about what is needed. We have policymakers, we have industry leaders, we have so many innovative people, not only in Nigeria, but across Africa. And there is, of course, the knowledge from the West. And we are still thinking what is lacking there. And I believe this will be the topic also for today, talking about, Alex mentioned that in his conversation, in his speech, collaboration in all aspects. As an industry players, one organization cannot have everything to offer to a client, to clients across Nigeria. So we are talking about our main focus is on financial inclusion. And as payment service bank, we have a limited permissible activities. So we are in base, we are same as deposit banks, but we are not actually permitted to do any FX, and we are not permitted to do any lending, which doesn't mean that, you know, providing access across Nigeria in order to close financial inclusion, we shouldn't collaborate with other players. If the channel exists, collaboration comes in place, providing and opening that channel to other players in the market to provide their services. So this is our main focus, what we are working on, and our mandate, as the mandate of many industry players, is to close financial inclusion gap in Nigeria by 2025. That's the first one. And the second one, because we are in era of technology and we are talking about smart apps and we are talking about digital payments, we are a digital bank that is providing services also to fintechs, to merchants, to small and medium entrepreneurs. By offering virtual wallets, by offering a wallet as a service, collection tools, disbursement tools. So I can go on and on. Okay. So as I said, we started in 2020 and we are Nigerian based. I am a foreigner, but I'm the only foreigner in my organization. So this is a Nigerian bank. And a part of our social objective is actually, the key is collaboration, and we are here, you know, to think global, but to act local. So how is our bank built? We basically used all Nigerian vendors. So there are so many advanced technology present in the market. Our infrastructure, core banking system, mobile application, middleware was built either in-house by Nigerian experts or provided by Nigerian talents across Nigeria who have their fintechs companies and IT developing companies. So that's the first thing what we do, how to support Nigerian economy, to keep the money within the country by using actually talents within Nigeria. The second one is, you know, it's very nice to bring international experience. And I worked in 30 markets around the world, from Asia to Latin America. And what I learned across the world is, yes, we do come with different experience and knowledge, but as was mentioned in previous panel, one size does not fit all. And the first thing that is important in order to build successful business is actually to observe and to listen and to see the needs of people and to see the behavior, to learn financial behavior of people across country before we decide what are the best products for them. And as a part of financial inclusion, this was actually our strategy. There are so many products across Nigeria, and many of these products are actually in the core, the very same products. Either we have cash in, cash out, selling airtime and data across Nigeria, but we don't have products that fit the needs of Okada driver in Ibadan, for example. And in order to close financial exclusion gap, we have to learn that. We cannot assume that they are technologically savvy to use super app. That time will come, but not today, not tomorrow. So first, as industry players, we have to develop the products that will accommodate and that will actually fit the lifestyle of people across Nigeria, especially in rural areas. And then slowly to try to, drive this transition from cash to cashless society by introducing new products and by providing financial literacy. And as I said, I have a great team of 90 people that are actually doing this. There is no silver bullet or, magic wand that can close financial exclusion gap in Nigeria. It requires a lot of footwork and across Nigeria, which was something that investors are not very willing actually to wait for. But this is the only way. Hard work, a lot of, rolled sleeves and execution on the spot. So I don't know, like maybe you can ask me some questions if any of you have until we get the presentation uploaded. Yeah.
All right.
I think it's there now.
Thank you, ma'am. Unfortunately, Juliet seems to have a network challenge, and we're glad Hugo is here. Hugo, we've been able to get a presentation. It's now uploaded, so you'll just be giving us the prompt, and then we'll follow through. Willie is in charge, as a matter of fact, but I'm just helping out as a case. As soon as Juliet is able to resolve a network issue, I'm very sure she will join us. If not, I guess the panel as it is strong enough. Over to you, Winnie.
Well, Hugo, we're waiting for your presentation.
Okay, so I think we can start. Can you hear me well?
Ahead, you can go ahead. We've uploaded the presentation. So the presentation is up now. Can you see?
I can.
Okay, so you just go ahead, use the one you have with you, and then you direct the slides here. We'll move it accordingly. So we are right now on the landing page, PaperSoft RegTech webinar, mobile money and agency banking section. So apparently this is it. Thank you.
That's good. You can move to the other one. Thank you for the long expected slides. So my name is Hugo Pacheco. I work with PaperSoft. We have been developing last mile banking toolkit technology to cope exactly what Branka was describing. It's not always a problem of technology. It's the technology that fits the right use case. So if you move to the next slide, you will be able to see what we've been doing. Basically, we focus in four major challenge that exist in the ecosystem. The first one is related to identity. How can we in a low trust environment be able to verify customers and potential new customers in the regulatory environment where identity is a requirement to enter to play? The next point is the technology that is always a restriction for usage. Could you go back to the previous slide? In the technology, especially offline, is a high demand usage in the ecosystem. So how can we enable offline payments? How can we enable technology where data is highly costly in some of the countries that in sub-Saharan Africa? How can we are able to enable people to join the financial ecosystem? We also deliver technology for that to manage the high costs of managing an agent network operation, both on the liquidity side and on the daily operational side as well, on the life cycle of the agents. And the last point, we also have technology, low-code technology, to develop new products to distribute into this agent network that sustain the financial distribution. So in a nutshell, I have here a lot of icons that support our customers, but I've selected four use cases of our customers. If you go, can you go back to the previous slide? Basically, we've been helping in Nigeria, Airtel and PSP Bank, Smart Cash. We help them with our hardware knowledge and software knowledge, empowering their IT and development teams to come up with a device that is able to enable NIN enrollment and BVN enrollment, facilitating new addressable markets for them. On the NIN enrollment, it was actually a regulatory blockage, but this facilitates when you're growing a network into areas where regulatory is a mandatory thing to have. A new total addressable market is open, especially on north part of Nigeria and untouched people that are still with no formal identity. So this comes up as a new total addressable market, but also for agents, new revenue streams for them to make up a sustainable network. On M-Pesa and Vodacom, we've been helping on our customers on DRC and Mozambique, on the digitization of agents and super agents, especially on tier-based KYC that is necessary for supporting the operations. And because we generate so much data, marketing teams develop new products and campaigns directed to specific niches. So this is how we help the last mile distribution on M-Pesa and Vodacom. And the last one that I have here also is advanced microfinance, that beyond the normal agency banking usage of the platform, they also use it for something that's kind of hot topic, liquidity in banking. So cash mobilization is very critical to any MFI or bank. And so they use the technology beyond the normal loan origination system with field officers, but also to do collections, both online and offline. And that's kind of one of the very unique selling points of the platform that we have, is it allows you to still collect on cash, but with a unique view of everything that is happening with your digital fields and agent networks. So in the next slide, I try to bring my view on the data that has been compiled over over last year on mobile money. So we see a growth on kind of 30% the last year, and this is a growth that still compounds. 2 years ago, still growing. I see specifically some regulation policies that changed in Nigeria with the PSB banks, but also in Ethiopia, opening up more the market for this new entry technology. And I think this has made a sustainable value proposition. If you see the active accounts, they are stable at 13%, so the same rate as the growth. We can also see that the ecosystem is more mature, so the in and outs of with other digital products and banking system, you can see that they have stretched out now to 33%. In 2 years ago, we were at 24%. So the ecosystem is actually growing, and you can see that many of those supporting networks is coming directly from agent point of view. So the agents are going now 41%. So last year and 2 years ago, they were growing at 14%, because customers will rely on them, trust on them, because they ended up doing the literacy part of the journey. So the value proposition of mobile money, and at the end of the day, any digital payment solution that is out there to support day-to-day transactions is very active and robust. The system, I see the system growing with a lot of new use cases coming in. So in my next slide, I kind of bring a provocative thought about the how this still 39% of the use cases that we still have as cash in and cash out, how do this cash matches with digital journey? So they are not completely opposites. So even though cash has been kind of the villain here on the background of the story, you can see that the growth and trajectory of use of cash and adoption of digital, they actually go hand in hand in emerging markets. And this is a very important topic, because probably we'll later on talk about maybe the cash crunch and how that impacts people's life. But it's normal that as people adopt digital, they still use cash to come into their normal transactions. Only when you are fully transitioned to digital, your in, the money that you get in, and the out, the stuff that you pay, only when they match, you're in a situation of where you don't need to rely on cash. There's multiple conditions on the ecosystem that still limit this, and it's important to understand that this is a normal journey. The growth of massive cash is so. India is at the high time usage of cash, reaching I think 14% now on their GDP on cash usage, and this is normal and it's very mature on usage of digital. But just to give an idea that in Africa, specifically on the context of the continent, I see that there's a lot of fintechs coming in doing also the literacy on digital, especially on e-commerce, inventory applications that start to allow entering the digital, but not taking out the cash. And as they grow into their own value proposition, start interacting now with digital payments and into the ecosystem. So I call them in this slide cash tech, but at the end of the day, they are fintechs that are based on SKU, or they are based on locations, cash and delivers on e-commerce, cash and deliver of other services that are touching base digital and cash. So this is important as the ecosystem keeps growing, so that we don't exclude anyone, because at the end of the day, everyone would be wants a fair grab of the pie for the digital economy. So in my next slide, I kind of give high vision of what would be my provisions on both on the demand push and on the supply push. So on the demand push, there will still be continuous improvements on giving smartphones to people and fairly low cost access to internet, so that people can participate on the financial ecosystem. I see that there's new projects coming in like Starlink that open up a little bit the ecosystem, accessing internet through satellites. The business case is not there yet in terms of monetary wise, but it will be. So it's a growing, mature thing coming in, and the digitization that is coming, and the support of the agent networks, teaching and giving literacy to the customer, are supporting this year-on-year growth of the ecosystem. On the customer side, we talk a lot about this in other panels. So people are looking for lifestyle kind of applications, so super apps are kind of there. So there's players like M-Pesa going into the movement of both the super app for a customer and super app for merchant. So the tent is there on this kind of applications, and still other applications are coming from different angles. For example, in a good, interesting use case would be in South Africa, Moya app that is coming from a chat perspective, similar to what happened in China, and then they enter into the payment ecosystem. But the value proposition is important that fits what is important in Africa, and that's free access or low access to internet, and that's still remain one of the challenges. And the next one is what touches the ecosystem. In ecosystem, I'll put it here, the identity space, because that's a requirement to join the party. The different bilateral agreements that are being made versus the instant payment national switches. So you can see that there's a very competing ecosystem in Nigeria, for example, having this strategy versus other bilateral agreements that would be suppressing this and giving a different route for countries that don't have this available, or at least on a low cost for customers to participate. On the overall ecosystem, I also see the agent networks become more resilient, because even though they are growing 41%, 25% are the ones keeping active on the network. I see there's a play also for this distributions, this becoming a distribution channel for other players and fintechs. The fintechs that want to play on this kind of retail space, physical cannot be taken out. You just saw that 49% still cash in and cash out. So this is quite relevant, because I see that coming as the reliability on the agents to become sustainable on having not taking out the service that they are providing. Proximity is very important for customers, not only for doing cash in and cash out, but for trust in the ecosystem. And that rhetoric will keep on going over the next 5 years, at least. So I see that as a very important point. Beyond this, the reduction of the fees on the system, and we had new things coming up last year, like fees based on e-levy transactions in Ghana, things coming up similar to in Tanzania. So we saw a lot of new entries on tax coming into the ecosystem, even though the resilience of the system is there. But I see that probably there will be new business models that go beyond the fee-based and more on partnerships, as Branka was also mentioning. I also see that as in the vision of realm of possibilities for the future. So that wraps up my presentation. I hope this last slide would be a good insight for the next conversation that we'll have in the panel. Thank you. Over to you, Winnie.
You know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, over to you, Winnie. Obviously, we've had extended time, but we can continue.
Oh, we're so happy that we have M-Pesa in the house. I wouldn't see how we'd have this session without having M-Pesa saying a thing or two. It being that they are the home of mobile money, started there way back in the early 2000s. So now moving on to the panel discussion, I'll try to be as quick as possible, but we do have a lot to share with you. So the theme of our panel discussion today is From Policy to Impact, Unlocking the Potential of $1 million trillion mobile money market in Africa. While Hugo was making the presentation, he's quoted some numbers, and that is from the State of the Industry report that has been published by GSMA last month. So based on that, we will proceed with some questions. You may be able to access the report on the GSMA website. And my first question is to you, Branka, since you're right here next to me. So Hugo has presented on the last slide, which he said is very insightful. And he said on the untouched demand, what do you believe is the best approach towards the unserved last mile in driving financial inclusion?
Thank you, Winnie. So I will try to keep this really short. Let me put it like this. The first is infrastructure, and I would split this into two parts. The first one is providing channels and access points. So we talk already about the channels being smartphones through which clients can use mobile application, mobile money, web banking. And then here in Nigeria, we still have USSD, which comes in as very handy because even though there is a the mobile smartphone penetration is rapidly growing across Nigeria, still many people are using feature phones. So USDD comes very handy for those people who don't have smartphones or don't have access or funds to buy data. So that's from the point of channels. Then we are talking about access points. Access point being actually and I will talk from perspective of financial inclusion. Access point being agent network across Nigeria. We can easily understand that there is no economical sense for banks, traditional banks, to open branches across rural areas where there is density very high, so that there is no just a business case for it. So in Nigeria has highly developed agent network, but the issue also with the agent network is, and we will talk about this later, how to provide sustainability across this. So then the next, this is mostly on industry side, I would say, channels and access points. So then we are talking about infrastructure from national point of view. So there are many projects either led by regulator or Central Bank of Nigeria. I would name just few of them, like NIPS instant payment that actually secures interbank transactions, instant interbank transactions across Nigeria. Then either that's like a domestic card project or digital currency project. There are many of them. Or on industry side, we heard the presentation about super apps. Then we are talking about the agent network, then different switch routes. So there are many of them. And then there is still a question, if Nigeria is so advanced, having these access points and infrastructure developed, what is missing? And the missing point is actually that many people across Nigeria don't have access to electricity and don't have access to internet or as we call it here in Nigeria, data. So this is I would say, the stop blocker, and this is something on the level of government and national level that should be sorted out together through collaboration with private industry. So that's the first point. And then I would tackle also, there is a question, if we are talking about, moving from cash to cashless policy through financial inclusion, is also access to cheaper smartphones. Smartphones are very expensive here in Nigeria, so many people are still using feature phones. So this is also where collaboration between telco organizations and government and NDIC, I believe, or NCC, I'm not sure which one is like the one responsible for telcos, can come in with decreasing taxes for smartphones for certain populations so that these smartphones become more affordable. And then the last, but I would say the most important one is providing financial literacy. And I will just spend like a minute on this topic. I'm not just talking about explaining to people how banking services are functioning. I'm talking about, we had experienced technical issues with connection now. So imagine people who are just moving from, having payments in cash, moving to some digital payments, and their transaction doesn't go through. They make the payment, the money never hits other side of account. Instantly, they are losing trust into the system, into the provider, into the bank, because they don't know where their money ended. And there are so many infrastructure issues across Nigeria. We heard the ATMs are not working. Sometimes POS are not working because internet is poor, and common user does not understand that. And financial literacy requires a lot of footwork, as I said. So it's not just providing a document or video. It's basically providing education from elementary school through like education center across Nigeria. And we are doing exactly like that. And this, like in all 36 states, we have cluster centers where we are educating our agents and providing support how to educate clients. So these would be the three main things. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Branka. You've touched on quite a number of things, and that will make me have the next question for Juliet. Juliet, being in M-Pesa in Kenya has rolled out, and it has quite a majority of the population in Kenya already using mobile money through M-Pesa. However, that being a success case in Africa, we've seen that it's not the same as much as M-Pesa is in different markets, that they've not had the same success rate. Juliet, we want to hear your insights on why the success in Kenya has not replicated to the other markets, and while each other country is trying to drive financial inclusion through mobile phones, through the PSPs, what do you think that we would learn from that?
I just confirm that all hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello. Yes. Okay. Okay, good. So firstly, apologies for the technical hitch. I'm glad that that was sorted out. And maybe just to introduce myself, so I'm Juliet, working in regulatory and public policy for M-Pesa Africa. So and when you look at M-Pesa Africa, we're looking beyond Kenya. We're looking at all our markets across Africa, which includes Tanzania, Lesotho, Mozambique, DRC, Ghana, and soon to be Ethiopia. And so we offer support for them from a technical R&D and regulatory perspective as well. And so this question is very timely because even as we look at our existing markets, the uptake has not been the same as what we see in Kenya, and that's for various reasons. So if I could just highlight just, top of mind or, very high level, I think regulation is a very key one. And actually the regulator's approach to, innovation and emerging technologies and how open and willing they are to engage with players. I think that's a key one. We're still dealing with a lot of, old, stringent kind of regulations towards financial services. And so unless the market or the regulator is very open about that, then that can be quite a hindrance. Something else which we tend to overlook is also customer dynamics. I think, the customer in Kenya and the customer perhaps in DRC or in Mozambique is quite different, and every day they're evolving. I think when we speak about super apps, we'll talk a little bit about, digital natives who are now the new crop of customers that we're targeting. And so if you're looking at that, you have to be very bespoke in your approach to providing services in different countries. And sometimes, a copy-paste approach does not work. It needs a lot of research, a lot of understanding. And generally, I think that has been the theme from the sessions I've joined, is that, there's no one size fits all. It very much needs a tailored and detailed approach to understanding the dynamics of that market. And then lastly, I would also speak to ecosystem maturity. I think, M-Pesa in Kenya launched over 15 years ago now. And so trying to replicate mobile money in today's market in that same way is probably not feasible. I think there's been a lot of development looking at fintechs coming up, looking at crypto, looking at blockchain. And so these are other dynamics, in terms of understanding what your market where they have reached in terms of that level of maturity from a technical capability, from a customer expectation perspective. Those are kind of things that also will determine how successful your product is in the country. And so putting all these things together, I think I would still be amiss if I didn't mention again that regulation for me is also still a very key one. And I think now we're seeing things like regulatory sandboxes and regulators really looking to engage and understand where technology is going, what customers are looking for nowadays in their products and services, and to support innovators to be able to launch these in a safe and secure environment. So those would be my top points on that. And
just as you've mentioned, what has really driven in Kenya, I just want to go back to the state of the industry report that was mentioned by Hugo, and he talked of the mobile money agents. So in that report, we did see that in the year 2022, $294 million was digitized using agents. In yesterday's panel discussion, right here, there was a one of the panelists who said that agents remain the trusted point of contact between the customer and the ecosystem. So Hugo, this is for you. As Papersoft has been involved in designing, building, and implementing the last mile banking technology, how has this contributed to unlocking the $1 trillion industry that you're hoping to unlock in mobile money in Africa?
Thank you. That was a good question. So the thing that we see is that picking up, for example, the what happened recently in Nigeria, called the cash crunch, of reducing the available notes and changing them for new ones. What we see is that part of the transactions that increased in agents because people were concerned what to do and they need to talk up with a human being to and sort this out. The levels of trust, as were mentioned, are quite low. And if something hits a wall, you need to talk with someone. We saw that many of the transactions, not only the ones related to cash in and cash out, are actually happening in the agent. And that could be translated in peer-to-peer because they are transfers, or they could be buying products where you use cash to do it. So beyond the cash in and cash out, there's also transactions that these agents are supporting because they support the digital literacy, they support the mobile literacy as well. So they're kind of an infrastructure of the ecosystem that it's important to keep rolling out. This is the first touch point. An example that we see as well was that during this cash crunch, 70% of the complaints that were when people went to the banks, besides the most let's say violent, turbulent ones, for that 70% of the complaints were actually related to and something related to electronic transfer that didn't went through. So it was generated outside. Either they tried themselves, and then they went to the bank to sort out the complaint. So the agent is someone that it reduces these levels of stress, especially if someone is entering the ecosystem. It guides you through your maturity as you move from cash intensive to digital. What we are seeing as well is that some of the opening up of these agent networks to more structured business, besides being a guy in the street with the umbrella, more being a regular point of trust that you can go. You'll be there every time because you someone trusting in the neighborhood. You have the reputational damage in your own business. But for this to be a sustainable model, what we are seeing is that a lot of companies and new fintechs and new players are coming in to tap into this distribution model, but it needs to be cohesive in terms of the what's the reason to provide this banking system services. So it's not only the fees that I generate from extra. These services can actually disrupt my cash flow in my normal business that I have as a merchant. So I'm already an open point for things such as access to loan, access to liquidity, distributing maybe e-commerce point of pickup of products. So you see this agent network as not becoming not only important for more rural areas where you need to start the enrollment part, initiative, government initiatives, maybe even disbursements like you have in India, for example, where the government disbursements are done also through the networks. You see that they play a role both in the rural but also in the urban part with the more resilience value proposition where they support multiple types of services so that at the end of the day, the money still stays in the ecosystem, doesn't go out as cash out. So that's basically my view. Supporting this infrastructure is supporting both the literacy that they do every day, the trust that they pass to the ecosystem every day. Supporting them with financial tools is also important because as things are kind of piling up, they will be the distribution channel of other products that are also relevant for customers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hugo. So that was a very good focus away since this is pretty much a global conference. But now I'd want us to come back home and happy to have you here, Branka. So we see that in Nigeria, when you look at the digital financial services, it's beyond the traditional mobile money, as so you've put it quite clearly today. And in the morning, we had a keynote speech from the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And he said that according to him, deepening financial inclusion goes beyond access. He looked at it that it's more to do with usage. So with that thinking in mind, what would be the key drivers for the exponential growth of digital financial services in Nigeria?
Thank you, Winnie. So I would say, okay, we all already tackled the infrastructure, saying like access and the channels that already exist. Then I would say we tackled also products, and Julia also spoke about that products should be tailored to customers' need. Then I believe what is currently lacking in Nigeria and the landscape is slowly changing is greater focus on customer experience and service excellence. So it's not only about opening accounts and onboarding clients. It's actually the more effort comes to retain clients, to keep them, and to change their behavior, how to continue using either it's mobile money or, as you've rightfully said, I believe in Nigeria we are beyond mobile money in traditional sense. We are talking about digital payment services. So this is how to secure this is actually what I said through customer service and excellence delivery. So they have to have great experience, and either is that through super app, either it's through seamless mobile application or web. It's all about customer experience at the end. And this also comes, as I mentioned again, and tackled through importance of financial literacy for those who are financially excluded. And we should at all time have this global picture in mind that we are slowly transitioning from cash to cashless society, to put it like that. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Branka. And it seems that we do have a word for the day today, and that is super app. So with that in mind, Juliet, I'd like to move to you. In the infrastructure evolution, we've seen that most countries, sorry, let me just put this again. So the word for the day being super app. So, and Branka has mentioned, and you also mentioned that we do have digital natives. So in this, in the infrastructure as we see it, and in most countries today, we do hear also that M-Pesa is a super app. With that in mind, what does this mean? What services are expected to be seen in a super app? We did have the demo that was done right here, but what services, layers are available on M-Pesa?
Thanks for that, Winnie. So yes, as I mentioned, I think we've, even from the demo earlier, I think some of the things that they're discussing would, not be as relevant maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But now we're recognizing super apps as being part of our lifestyle. We're integrating it with so many other aspects of our lives. If it's utility payments, loan payments, services, anything basically, you can do it on a super app. So I think the objective, of course, is to increase value to the customer, and even just to go that step further, as Branka mentioned, is also to increase excellence and service to the customers, that you have a one-stop shop when you're looking for your services. And maybe also just to clarify that even when you look at mobile money and M-Pesa, we've gone way beyond just the standard P2P transactions and B2C. We're now looking at loan management, asset management, merchant payments. So there's lots of other services that are now available, and now putting that all together onto a super app, it provides for the current customer, being able to address their needs, and also being able to give them a wide range of services. And I think as we talk about digital natives, I think their interest is not in sending money their interest is not. There's so many options nowadays. As I mentioned, there's been an evolution in payments. There's blockchain, there is Bitcoin, there are so many different platforms that these younger generations are able to leverage, that mobile money would not be at all interesting to such an individual, such a customer. And so being able to provide that that stickiness through your super app, and I think the guys earlier have demonstrated just how versatile and diverse these super apps can be, and we're no different. We're looking to leverage that, I think, as everybody else, and to
However, we
increase
just
value
have
to
like
our
just
customers.
two more, just one more for Juliet and one more for Branca.
Well, what I wanted to do is, in agreement with you, perhaps we want to ask if we have questions, so that if we have some of those questions, we can all put it in together and then find a way. I'm so sorry because I know we have some technical hitches, but I think perhaps if we get some of the questions, maybe that is going to help out, and then we can summarize without me coming up again to see. So, with your kind permission, ladies and gentlemen, okay, you see, I've not even started the talk. Madam is answer up. I'm excited. We seem to have several. So what we'll do, we'll take note of all of the questions, and then in response to either Branca or Juliet or Hugo or yourself, we can just basically wrap that up. Where's my very good friend who helps with the microphone? Is she here? All right, great. So let's start from. Can I see how many people have questions? Let me take the number 1, 2, 3. Okay, 3, right? So 4. All right, your work. 4, 5. Okay, 5 going, gone. All right, start with the person behind. Quickly, your name, your organization, the questions, be as brief as possible, because we need to go for lunch break and we still have one more product showcase. All right.
All right, thank you very much for the panel so far. Yeah, I would like to ask a question about the mobile. Well, this is particular to Nigeria. So about mobile money operators, there's been issues with currently the operators are having issues with the telcos, and I don't know, what do you think the way forward should be? Because there's been issues of of how to do the payment, like payment between the telcos and the mobile money operators. So what would you say the way forward should be? And the second question is about agency banking. And we've been talking about how agency banking can be used to deepen financial inclusion in rural areas, particularly. And again, I'm speaking with respect to Nigeria. But then there's CBN regulation that, okay, right now, that all accounts should be linked to a BVN. And we are talking about agency banking in rural areas. How do we solve the problem of onboarding people without BVN? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The next question quickly. What's number 2? Okay, Madam is here.
Thank you very much. It's so I don't know to what extent the operators really make use of the resources of research that has been done with the National Financial Inclusion Committee set up by the Central Bank of Nigeria. There are currently researches done with AFINA. There's several frameworks, one of which is trying to enhance the women as agents. And given that there has been a huge increase in agent networks between 2018 to 2022, agents have grown from just about 38,000 to 1.3 million, and I'm sure it's more than that now. Well, where I'm going to is that, there needs to be, Madam talked about business case for these services to be deployed. And there's a lot of research already on hand, a lot of frameworks and policies already on ground. I would like to see a point where, operators can really leverage on some of these resources, especially when you look at the gap between, you have a lot of financial activities in the rural area that are informal. You have women who have savings groups. Maybe look at products that have to do with uh, formalizing some of these informal savings groups, maybe having like the leader of that women's group be an agent. And then that would like now kind of be like a stepping board for onboarding some of these women into the formal financial system. I'm just looking at ideas around synergy with the mobile money operators, leveraging on a lot of research and work that has already been done in the regulators, financial regulators sector.
All right. Thank you very much, Madam Gambo. And then we have the third. We have 5 questions. If you know you're not among the 5, don't even put up your hands. Where's the 1, 2, 3? Okay, you are okay. So go back behind. I would have no. We have the lady here. She raised up her hand. Sorry. Give her the microphone, please. No, go ahead so that we can make it fast. All right.
Thank you very much. I said you tagged me as 4.
Oh, it's all right. But you are closer to 3 than 4, so it's okay.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. I would like to ask the panel to shed more light on, initially the essence of mobile money wallet was for it to serve as a source of payment, just like the word wallet. The wallet we keep in our purse. But do you think we have gone beyond just using it for payment to allow the operators to lend or make available loan on such wallets? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. And then number 4 behind, then number 5, finally. You want to start with him here? It's closer to you. And then we'll go to the gentleman on that table. All right, Lucita.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. So in Nigeria, I acknowledge that the operators have their own infrastructure problems. Now, the agents have their own infrastructure problem as well. And the agents naturally will not care about the operators' infrastructure problem or the regulators' problems. Now, but they're critical to financial inclusion. Now, so some of the problems are electricity to acquisition costs or startup costs, if you like. If the rural woman does not have a cell phone, she needs at least a minimum of a cell phone, and then she equally needs the onboarding cost for POS, which is usually between 10,000 naira and 14,000 naira. And this could be hard for someone in the rural area. Now, for the cell phone, there's communal service points for recharging the battery of the cell phone. Then I'm talking about the agents. Now, the rural dwellers need to be empowered, perhaps find ways to reduce. It's unfortunate that PSBs don't do, the permitted service is not financing, project financing, because it could have been easier to finance the purchase, the acquisition cost for the infrastructure, perhaps a cell phone, and then find ways to now reduce this over time, to recoup it over time. But this is not permitted, but then through collaboration, it could be achieved. So the question is, how are we, through policy and operations, trying to address the problems of the agents and the potential customers in the rural area?
All right. So the last question, ladies and gentlemen, that's the gentleman behind. And then Winnie, we'll take that all in. I think each of the panelists can respond as the case might be and summarize afterwards. And then you give the bearing, so to speak, conclusion, and then we can call it a day. All right, gentlemen.
Thank you so much. I would like to ask if you could, is there a discussion towards exploring an angle leveraging the gig economy, all right, with regards to financial inclusion?
The what economy?
Gig economy, like we have freelancers, talents.
Okay,
talent,
okay,
yeah.
gig, okay. All right.
So with regards to so now Nigeria is having a quite a in that area, and one of the things that may be lacking may be infrastructure, like you mentioned. Some of those things can digital services, banking sector explore that area in supporting these young men with skills but lack the facilities, and they could be productive this way. And of course, may not be free, but something that works, support that. Is that something that's on the works?
All right. I imagine that maybe 9PSB may have a response to that. A payment service bank as they are, but nevertheless. So we have five questions, I believe. All right, over to you, Winnie. The next time I come in here, we'll be taking a picture. But then, over to you.
Thanks, David. Okay, so we'll start with a very first question on the telecommunication companies and MNOs on how to move money, from what I understood, wallet to wallet in different networks. And that question want Juliet, if you may answer. This also bearing in mind switches, national switches and bilateral agreements, if you may.
Okay, thanks, Winnie. So I think if the question is around interoperability and sharing, being able to make payments across operators and P2P and B2C and even including other players in the ecosystem, I think as an industry, I would speak confidently to say that we are definitely pro interoperability, to say that we do support cooperation. We don't want to be duplicating efforts in terms of infrastructure or also making the consumer. We also put the consumer first to think, do you need to have 3, 4, 5 different lines in order to send money across different platforms? So I think, the how maybe is where the question comes in. And here is where we talk about bilateral agreements. So between some of the MNOs, the telco providers, and, for example, banks, between the telco providers and themselves. Typically, that is a market-led approach where the banks and the MNOs and any other fintechs in that ecosystem will come to an agreement in terms of their commercial terms and something that works for everybody. And then another approach would be where it is kind of mandated by the government, and a lot of countries in Africa are now introducing national payment switches. And what this requires then is that everybody who is in that ecosystem playing in that space would then plug into this one platform, and through that platform be able to integrate all transactions and make sure that interoperability is indeed possible. So I think if the question is whether it is possible or whether it is key for our industry, I think the answer is definitely yes. I think there are some questions around maintaining governance, good governance, sustainability. What is the costing model around some of these national payment switches? How do we ensure that the commercials set up between the entities, a market-led approach? How do you marry basically a market-led approach and a national switch approach to ensure that we do have the interoperability, because there are definite benefits across the board for everybody.
So the next questions are pretty much felt Nigeria-based questions, and we are more than fortunate to have Branca in the room. So Branca, you'd be able to take the question on resources of onboarding agents, where the MNOs can leverage on already existing groups like the women groups. There was a question on BVN, that's on identity. We're also asked to shed more light if the wallets that you do have can offer lending or more services to the customers. Then the other question was, do PSBs have an idea of perhaps project financing or how to improve the infrastructure to include those who cannot be able to afford the smartphones, as you had alleged earlier? And on the gig economy, can the banking sector explore that, especially the very young who are coming up?
Thank you, Winnie. That's quite a lot of questions, and thank you for that. So when it comes to first question, I'm not sure if I understood correctly. It was the question about that regulator requires that during onboarding the agents, they have to have BVN, or during onboarding the clients, they have to have BVN. So that's the only thing that I don't want to give the misleading answer. Okay, while checking on that, I would move to Madam Tambo question. So it was a question about all the projects that already exist in Nigeria and in Central Bank of Nigeria, one of them being elevating female inclusion through agent banking, which I proudly can say that Nine Payment Service Bank was a stakeholder from day one. So we participated in developing on the strategy. And now we hold a deputy chairman seat in the committee that is actually putting in place framework. So I would say we are very much engaged in all initiatives with SANEF, with EFINA, especially with the Central Bank of Nigeria, because we are licensed by Central Bank of Nigeria. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning when it comes to collaboration. So if we all put our strength and effort and energy together, then there are policymakers, regulators, industry players, and there are people who are responsible for execution. And payment service banks and other financial institutions are responsible ultimately for execution. And it's actually excellent approach of Central Bank of Nigeria to have players involved in such an early stage, from strategy development to framework implementation. So that's the first thing. When it comes to how to actually, a part of strategy, I will not talk much about it, how we can actually elevate female inclusion. For example, that was very particular question. We initiated many projects with different governments and NGOs, because payment service banks, we are not a mobile operator or mobile money operator. We are a bank. But we, as I mentioned, we are not allowed to do financing. And I think this tackled one more question that was asked about support of the agents. We cannot provide working capital to those women, but what we are doing, we are making cooperation. We are looking for partners, as I said, NGOs on government level, who within their social objective are ready to provide working capital for those vulnerable groups. Either they are like students that they just graduated from university, unemployed women, like displaced people, or people with special, like maybe needs. So we are looking for funds, and we provide, basically we are leading the project. Funds go directly to end users, and we are actually providing all the support from materials, from tools, either that's POS or mobile application or any other tool, then marketing, then financial literacy, customer support. So it's a big project, and we are actively participating in that. And I think this answers the second question, how especially payment service bank, I cannot answer for mobile operators, but payment service bank, we do have a special mandate given by Central Bank of Nigeria, and that mandate is to drive financial inclusion and close the gap. And this is how we do it. So we are focusing very much on this collaboration, finding organizations that are willing to support agents development. And through this, I will tackle one more question that was asked by a gentleman about the cost and then like like income that comes. The crucial thing to actually drive financial inclusion and to secure that digital payments are successful is to provide, because in Nigeria we do need agent network for certain time for the next few years to close this financial exclusion gap. So it's to provide agents sustainability. What that means, that can happen only through collaboration between all other players. Today in Nigeria, if we look for at different reports, you can find that we have millions of agents across Nigeria. And what is agent in Nigeria? It's umbrella and chair. So on paper, we have 1 million of agents. We go to rural areas of Nigeria, in Sokoto, Ibadan, here and there, and you cannot find a single agent. And why that happens? Because there is so many players in the market, and we all give actually devices to agents, then they are not using that. on paper there are many agents, in reality there are none. So how we can provide sustainable business for them is actually, this is what we are doing only on 9PSB level, but this can be done on national level to secure that we are not licensing agent door to door, so that we provide actually enough customers around them, that they have enough customers around them to provide for living, to be able to earn, I don't know, 50, 100,000 naira per month. If we all become agents across Nigeria, none of us will be making money. So this is what I'm talking when we say like about, how to create sustainable business to agent network, and how to support them in terms, maybe not necessarily providing them smartphones, because that would require a lot of fraud prevention, like a lot of management when it comes to managing agent network. So it comes with a lot of OPEX, to put it like that. So we have to be real. So what players can do among ourselves is to collaborate in a way that we use each other agents, and not to license too many agents in a smaller space, so that they cannot make for living. Then they will just keep POS and they will not be available to do transactions. So that's to answer that question. I think the only question remaining is around BVN that I didn't quite get. And actually, while that, there was a question about wallets. So I like to call them bank account, even though maybe from a mobile operator perspective, they're wallets. The question was from the lady about the products available. We were talking that most of the players today in Nigeria, they're providing basic products like cash in, cash out, buying airtime, paying bills, and purchasing data. So as I said, for organizations like Payment Service Bank, like 9PSB, or mobile money providers who have limited permissible activities, the way how we can move forward to provide more products is what we are doing within 9PSB. So our application is actually, through our application, we are partnering with different microfinance organizations, with micro insurances, micro savings, and we provide access to those products on our mobile application. And I will give you just one example. During one of these exercises, I believe it was on CBN level, we had exercise with super agents that in total have registered 1 million agents. And the question for them, we did a survey, and the question for them was how many products, exactly like the ones you asked, micro savings, micro loans, and insurance, how many of them they have on their platforms offering to clients, and the answer was 0. So that means products exist, channels exist, collaboration is needed to bring those products to the doorstep of the clients that have the need to purchase those products. Thank you.
Well, since this was a great session, I'm not sure if the clap is so that you go for lunch, or the clap is because this was really good. But that being said, we're happy that the audience was more than engaging. I don't know if we've missed any question that perhaps had been asked online.
I'm not sure we've missed any. As a matter of fact, we've answered more than what we were asked, which is very good for me, you know. I just wish this session shouldn't end, but, you know, you're just giving the magic word. Meanwhile, we still have one more short presentation, and then we just wrap up. So, Minnie, over to you just to wrap up the session, and then we can call it a day.
Well, yes, I had just wrapped up. Since the claps had already gone. But thank you to the audience, and thank you to the panel, Hugo and Juliet and Branka. Thank you for your time. Please feel free to engage any other questions or any other comments and any other burning issues that you may wish to address on regulatory policy on digital financial inclusion. Thank you.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, please can we put our hands together for them, please? Can you stand up front here? We'd like to have a picture. Cyril, can you come up as well? In the meantime, I'll quickly want to recognize the moderator for the remittances and cross-border regulations track, the MDCU of FITC, Madam Chizo Malize. You're welcome. I'm also going to say that FITC is a huge support for us this year's edition. Thank you so very much. Please, can you put your hands together for FITC? Okay, and then I would like to also recognize Mr. Oshoke Ojio to please come up as well. Okay, great. He's here. He's the chair of the advisory council of the conference. Thank you very much all the way from the UK. Sorry. Please, can you come front? Because we also have virtual people taking picture too. You want to come to the front, just this line, this digital line that is highly regulated. Okay, great. All right, so that we can have them fully smiling. Are we good, Stephen? Okay, let's hold on. Let's have this first shot first. Okay, are you good? Okay, then we would like you to take yourself one after the other. Willie and the Cyril, come this way. Just stand here. And then, of course, Abranka and, of course, Ojofo, just stand there so that we can capture these guys in the middle. Hugo and Juliet, please, can you smile your digital smile so that we know that this is quite borderless? All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You can have your seat. Quickly, as I announced earlier on, please be mindful of your personal belongings. And then we are making progress. Finally, before lunch, I would like to invite Mary Gichuki, Advocacy Manager at GSMA Mobile Money Program. Mary was here yesterday. I hope she's still here today. If not, I guess perhaps she's here. I'm so glad. And she's going to be making a presentation on the GSMA Mobile Money Financial Literacy Toolkit for the next 10 to 15 minutes, more or less. The Mary Gichuki is a wonderful individual. Yesterday we had an engaging time with her on the panel. And so today we are having her on the presentation purposes. Thank you so very much, Mary.